Hey everyone, today I want to follow up my original KH1 Small Details video with 10 more cool little finds from the game. KH1 has plenty of secrets to discover and attention to detail as we know, and lately those details have been gaining more awareness from fans than ever, with other YouTubers and the community in general creating more content themed around these aspects of KH1. It's become a less niche topic. This is a double-edged sword, right? It's nice to see more appreciation for this sort of stuff, but it's also made my job of creating a sequel video harder, as I didn't want to seem repetitive or too obvious with my inclusions. Then add in the fact that I'm doing KH1 world explorations where I cover a lot of detail in the world spaces. I don't want to seem to repeat myself from those videos or take away from them. And so with that in mind, this video covers quite a range of types of detail, including even a lore tidbit. Also, it may be cheating since some of the ones I feature could be counted as multiple details, but grouping them together was a better idea than having them take up multiple slots. That would just be wasting them. So without further ado, let's get into it. First off, let's look at treasure chests. Not so much where they're positioned, that's a topic I covered in my 10 hidden treasures video. Instead, I want to draw attention to their designs. In the games from KH2 onwards, treasures are usually large and small variants, and their designs match the theme of the world they're in, which is definitely pretty cool. But in KH1 and also Chain of Memories, it wasn't quite like this. Chests have 3 designs, a red, green and a blue one. The red chests seem to be the most common, with the other 2 being rarer. The green is more of a boxy shape, and the blue features an actual keyhole on the lid. What's cool about them though is that they actually have altered appearances, slightly, depending on the world. So, for example, a Traverse Town red chest is very clean and shiny, whereas a Deep Jungle one looks a bit worn and dirty, as you might expect from something tucked away in a jungle. These pictures from the Kingdom Hearts wiki show all the variants. I just think this is cool because they only really needed to make these alterations for very stylized worlds like Halloween Town or Atlantica to have them more blue looking, but no, they made all these different variations. I particularly like the end of the world chests. They've got an ancient magical aesthetic, and the texture looks more edged and 3D than the others. The faded Hollow Bastion ones with the muted colours, they're also pretty cool. But yeah, neat little detail about the chests that you might not notice much, but one I'm glad that they included. So, the Shadow Sora you have to face in Neverland is already a pretty cool aspect of that world. I like that it appears multiple times as you navigate the ship, and that if you're good enough, you can defeat it in the narrow window of time it gives you, before it flies away. Giving you tech points and a good item is a nice little feature. But there's another couple of cool details here too. One, that the shadow starts off with more of an outline of Sora, without much detail, but when you come to properly fight him, he has the yellow eyes, and more detail in his model. Secondly, and definitely the most cool aspect, is that until you defeat him, Sora won't cast a shadow on the ground beneath him as he usually does, because of course, that shadow is moving on its own accord now. That's such an admirable attention to detail. Then also just add in the couple of references that this provides. One to the shadow you see at the start of the game before it turns into a dark side, and of course to Peter Pan itself, whose shadow has a bit of a mind of its own, at least in the Disney version that this world is based on. By the way, that dive into the heart Shadow Sora has a really freaky face. Just look at this. I could have included this on my Creepy Things video, I swear. Staying on the topic of Sora, I feel like his bedroom has a number of interesting details that help in establishing his character, even at a glance. You've got the most obvious detail, the clothes strewn haphazardly on the floor, showing his more carefree personality. Probably the laziness that Kari mentions too. There's of course sea-related items here, like the trident and such in the corner. There's even what looks like rolled up rugs on the floor. It all seems quite untidy. Then one kind of interesting thing is the box people Sora seems to have made. The one on top of the drawers looks very much like a robot to me, which, I don't know, that's not anything crazy for a child's bedroom to have, but I just find it somewhat cool to see here on Destiny Islands. Or maybe that's just me. Another thing you might take from this is that Sora's bedroom has got this vibe of a child's room becoming a teenager's room. Comparatively, Roxas's was more fully teenager. Since Sora's been in that room presumably his whole life, it makes a lot of sense, and could even tie into the theme of growing up that KH1 has. Also, the t-shirt having a sad face on it is making me feel a bit weird. Did Sora draw that on there? Is it something to do with how he feels being at home? Is that why he was so happy to take a raft and leave? Well, I think that would be looking too far into it, but still, these details are all pretty cool and fun to look at and think about. If you don't rush the story in Deep Jungle and explore a bit before the Heartless start spawning, Sabor will chase you around, popping up in rooms to try and take a bite out of you. If you go to the Treehouse during this section, he will return to fight you there like he did at the start of the world. The fun thing is, he makes his entrance here by bursting through the floor, leaving a hole that lasts for the rest of the game. It's a pretty cool detail, and I was going to leave it at that until I did a bit of research and came across this image. Yeah, Sabor can actually break a lot of holes in a treehouse, but it's not easy to get him to do it. I spent the best part of an hour fighting him here, having to leave and come back whenever he got knocked out and fled, and I didn't achieve much. It seems you have to bait him into a certain move after he gets stunned or knocked back, and I guess he needs to be positioned in the right spot. Anyway, I did manage to reproduce the hole on the left side of the entrance, which was pretty cool. I've linked a video in the description of someone managing to make him burst through the other walls, but even that doesn't include the other two floor holes, so I have no idea how those come about. This seems very rare. Most people probably don't even get the first floor hole on their playthrough, and I think that's pretty cool, the fact that it has a lasting impact on the game. Especially since that hole is positioned so the pink Agaricus spawns and falls down it, and you have to deal with him on the netting instead of inside the treehouse. It's such a fun bit of flavour in the world, something this game is very good at doing. In Deep Jungle and Neverland, you can see the flag of the United Kingdom flying. Shout out to the Neverland one for having an adorably choppy animation, by the way. Sure, I have some bias for this, but the real reason I'm including it is because it's a hint at the world's once being one, at least according to KH1's more fairy tale version of events. The globes in the camp and Atlantica are further indicators of this. In any case, they are cool details in connection to our real world. It would have been easy to not include any references to Earth, to just remove them and make it easier canonically. But they didn't, and kept the Disney worlds close to their respective films, which is always a good thing to strive for. Another piece of neat world building related to this is how Triton knows of the Keyblade, and how in Halloween Town they already have the name Heartless figured out. Intentional or not, this just adds a bit of depth to the worlds and cements them more as a place and not just a simple game level. I guess we're sticking in Deep Jungle a bit longer, sorry not sorry, but this is one that's about the slides you collect to show Tarzan. One of them in particular is a picture of a castle, with Sora remarking that it looks so familiar even though he's never been off his island. Now obviously this is Hollow Bastion, with it being Kairi's heart inside Sora reacting to seeing her old home. A really nice bit of foreshadowing. It's also cool to wonder how a drawing of Hollow Bastion got to be in Deep Jungle. That is another little world building mystery like with the last point. And then it's pretty nice to see what Hollow Bastion looks like uncorrupted, without all the pipes and machinery. You can see the similarities like the two pillars and the towers. To be honest, I preferred this look for the uncorrupted castle before KH2 and BBS changed the design a lot. Regardless of that, inside KH1 itself, this was such a cool bit of mystery early in the game, and also a visual point of comparison for when you see the state the castle is in once you reach the world later on. Okay, so this might seem like a weird thing to include, but I want to mention the text boxes in the game. Not so much the characters talking without voice dialogue, I mean the boxes that seem like the game itself is talking to you. Kinda like the Synth Master prompt from the last video. These are little extra details that didn't really need to be put in, but do provide a bit more depth to the areas of the game, particularly when it comes to interactable elements. Instead of just blocking you from inspecting them again once the puzzle is done, you can see what the game, or maybe Sora's inner thoughts, has to say. I don't know, I feel like there's a sassy element to these too. You have these things like done, just done, or burnt out, which is certainly how I feel when my editing software messes up. The best one of all is if you try and interact with the button thing in Atlantica at the shipwreck while Glut is fighting you there for the second time. It's so funny to see the responses of now's not the time and isn't there something else you should be doing, as the shark is there snapping at you. This game really likes to sass you sometimes. Most people probably know about these by now, but I still think it's cool that they hid details on some of the weapons of the game. The most well-known one is probably Oblivion and Oathkeeper's teeth, being the kanji for darkness and light respectively. Then there's Ultima Weapon, with it having a simple blade through the middle that's reminiscent of the Dream Sword. My favourite one has got to be the Sword of the Invisible Heartless, which aptly has hardcore written in kanji on the blade. Goofy also has a shield called 7 Elements, and on it you can see the logos for each of the 7 magic types in KH1, which I thought was pretty neat. I'm sure there's more weapon details in the game. I mean, you have obvious references like the Final Fantasy Keyblades and such, but I just wanted to mention the little bit of extra design that went into these items. Subtle things that can really go a long way to making them interesting. So here's a little lore detail. I'm not sure how well known it is or even how many people care, but I just like it for fleshing out a less appreciated part of the game. So in the KH1 Ansem reports, which of course we now know were mostly written by Xehanort pretending to be Ansem but still contained a lot of Ansem's discoveries, he mentions finding a door in Hollow Bastion and that upon opening, meteors rained down upon the world. These were made of a strange material that bonded easily together. Later he concludes that the material is made of the world's barrier, which is broken down when the door is opened and falls to the planet. And Mickey tells of the name Gummi Block and how his ship is made of them. So yeah, gummy ships are made out of the world's broken down barriers, and that's the lore explanation for why they build together so easily, and also why the gummy ship is adept at travelling through space. Isn't that a cool lore detail to include? I mean, maybe I'm on my own here, but I just find that pretty cool. And it explains the gummy roots having blocks everywhere, like with the Hollow Bastion one having a big wall. That's presumably a still intact part of the world barrier. Finally, we have a neat little detail that I discovered from the KH1 Ultimania. Have you ever wondered why the white mushroom emote for Thunder looks the way it does? It's not completely obvious, though you could assume you need to brighten up the darkness hanging over him. Well, it's basically that, but even more amusing. Here's a translation I found by Rasenth on LiveJournal. Yes, LiveJournal. I loved that they were told to make it look depressed, but couldn't figure out a way, so yep. That light is supposed to resemble a street lamp on a dark night. How moody, I can almost hear jazz playing on top of it. It's a funny little thing, I know, but I thought it was a nice detail and I hadn't seen it mentioned before, so there you go. And there we have it, 10 more cool details in KH1. Yes, some of them were multiple details in one, but it would be silly to split those up, and come on, we all know 10 is the nicest number to use for these sorts of things. Maybe you knew about all of these, maybe some of them were a surprise. Either way, let me know your thoughts about these details in the comments, and especially if there's any of your own that you'd like to mention. I doubt I'll make another one of these for KH1 because the well seems to be running a bit dry, and I only like to include ones I feel I can talk about to some degree, rather than just list a whole bunch. Oh, also I realise it won't matter to most, but I do have a little Discord server set up. The link's in the description. There's about 34 of us there. It's a nice quiet spot for idle chatting. There's a few channels, including a Kingdom Hearts one of course, and a bunch of bots to play with too, so that's there if you're interested. I know I'm still small, but it seemed like it'd be worth setting up early for the channel anyway. But that's all from me. Thanks for watching.